Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to do a quick review of the grammar you studied in Unit 1 of your course book. This is a great chance to make sure everything is fresh in your mind and that you're feeling really confident. So let's get started.
I'm so glad you're here to practice with me. Getting these basics down is just so important for communicating clearly, especially in a healthcare setting. Okay, let's dive right in. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the real basics, words and numbers. After that, we'll get into those little words that can be tricky, articles like and the. Then we'll spend some time on the super important verb be, and to finish up, we'll see how to put it all together to build great sentences. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the absolute fundamentals, words and numbers. Seriously, you can think of these as the essential building blocks for pretty much everything we say and write. When it comes to numbers, there are two main types you need to know. First, you've got your cardinal numbers. These are the ones you use for counting, right? 1, 2, 3, like 3 doctors. Easy. Then you have ordinal numbers, which are all about order. First, second, third. Like when you say, the first patient of the day. All right, that's numbers. But what about nouns? A person, a place, a thing. What happens when we have more than one? For example, how do we take a word like doctor and make it plural? Go on, why don't you hit pause right here for a second? Just think about it. What's the most common rule for making a noun plural in English? So, did you figure it out? For most nouns, it's super simple. You just add an S. One doctor becomes 2 doctors. But, of course, there are a couple of other little rules to know. If a noun already ends in S, like the word class, you add ES to make classes. And if a word ends with a consonant and then a Y, like laboratory, you change that Y to IES, laboratories. See? Excellent work. Now let's build on that and move to our next topic, articles. I'm talking about those tiny but really powerful words, a, an, and the. Getting these right is key. Let's look at these 2 sentences here. Chicago Medical is a hospital, and there is an operating theater. Why do we say a hospital, but an operating theater? What's the logic there? Give it a thought. And here's the secret. It's all about the sound. We use a before words that start with a consonant sound, like that huh sound in hospital. But we use an before words that start with a vowel sound, like the ah in operating. It just makes it so much easier to say. So when do you use a or an versus the? Well, think of it this way. You use a or an when you're introducing something for the first time, something general. A plastic surgeon means any plastic surgeon. But you use the when you're talking about a specific one or one that everyone knows about. Mr. Lipiero is the manager because that hospital only has one manager. He's the specific one.
Fantastic! You're doing great. Now we're ready to get into what I like to call the heart of so many English sentences, the verb be. You see this verb absolutely everywhere, so getting comfortable with it is a game changer. Now, the verb be changes depending on who we're talking about, right? I am, you are, he is, but when we're speaking, we almost always use the short forms, what we call contractions. So I am becomes I'm, and they are becomes they're. It just sounds way more natural in a conversation. Okay, time for another little challenge. Let's take a simple sentence. They are nurses. Now, how would you change that into a question where the answer is either yes or no? Go ahead and pause for a moment. How would you rearrange those words? It's actually way easier than you think. All you have to do is find the verb, in this case it's are, and you just move it right to the very front of the sentence. So they are nurses becomes, are they nurses? And that's it. You've made a question. Great job. Okay, so we've got numbers, nouns, articles, and the verb be. We have all the pieces of the puzzle. Now let's look at how we put them all together to build correct, complete sentences.
Now listen up, because this next rule is really, really important in English. The subject and the verb have to agree. It's like they're a team. So if the subject is singular, just one person, like the owner, you have to use a singular verb, like is. But if the subject is plural, more than one person, like the owners, you need a plural verb, like are. But let's be honest, a sentence with just a subject and a verb can be pretty boring, right? To make our sentences useful, we need more detail. And when we use the verb be, we pretty much always follow it with some extra information that describes the subject. So what does this extra info look like? Well, it could be an adjective, A describing word, like in the health industry is interesting. Or it could be a whole noun phrase, like a well-paid job. Or it could tell you where something is, using a preposition and a noun, like in the United States. Adding these bits and pieces is what really brings a sentence to life.
And just like that, we've come to the end of our review. We've covered all the main grammar points from Unit 1. So now it's time to think about how all of this applies to you.
Seriously, you did an amazing job today. Taking the time to go back over these rules is a huge step. It's how you build the confidence to speak English well in your job. So, well done. So before we finish, I have one last question for you. Think about everything we just talked about. Plurals, articles, the verb be, sentence building. Which one of those things do you think is going to be the most useful for you, personally, in your day-to-day work? Really think about it, because connecting it to your life is what makes it stick.
I really hope this review was helpful for you. If you'd like to see more explainers like this one to help with your studies, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell icon so you don't miss the next one. Thanks so much for watching.